right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Readers. I just covered both of these. I realize it, but you know what? When the volume is this good, when the strength is this good, I at least have to say a couple things, right? My favorite reply for the day. I was kind of busy today, but look, I said this a couple days ago. If you can break 92 cents, all I'll be thinking is a buck 16 for KULR. Literally ran that entire channel on a single candle, right? I always say these five computer generated lines are way, way better than my little human manual clicks, right? But sincerely, I like to believe that if you watch a couple of my videos, enough of my videos, you'll start clicking them really well too. But every now and then they're pretty clean clicks, and I love what we saw here, right? And again, it sounds funny, right? But nothing, 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 red, 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 nothing, 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 green, green, red, red, green, green, nothing, 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 nothing comes into green, green, green eventually. You know what I mean? I love me good fast channels, and that's really what that was right here. All right, Sound Hound. I mean, I really, really, I don't. Crazy, right? This has been beast mode. What went from this unbelievable struggle to break that $5.25 for most of the year, that line right there, we're almost 2x from that in what feels like a couple candles, right? Got all the way to this resistance, a little bit of a rejection, monster bounce off the 20 over the 8, and again, just starting to bounce on the 8 really, really nicely. As we look at the weekly too, that's still a really nice weekly at the 74 RSI, and we've been as high as 90 not that long ago. I guess you can say March is a little long ago, but within the year we were that high, you know what I mean? Some really, really big things brewing on both of these, and really these are both tech stocks, right? So as I'm looking at QQQ, I always say the indices, right? It doesn't matter if it's Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P 500, or any of the ETF equivalents, right? These things really should only go 0.5% up or down, maybe even like 0.25, zero point 0.3. A near 1% candle is monster. And when it's this right here, and this basically means getting me right back over the 8, taking me all the way back up, we're now trying to get back into the 50% candle right here. When you look at NASDAQ, it's actually a little bit cleaner. Same near 1%, same over the 8 and the 20, and actually well above 50% of this candle right here, right? So NASDAQ itself is looking a lot better than QQQ. Both basically look exactly the same though. I'm not trying to say that there's a little break. Super, super healthy 47 RSI. I can't think anything except tech is going to do good, and KULR and SoundHound obviously are a little bit more risk and reward kind of stocks, but when the index is good, you can kind of hide a little bit of the normal risk, because again, remember, it's like the ocean, right? And if the NASDAQ is calm, we can take our little boats deeper and deeper. Sometimes you can take even little dinkety boats deeper and deeper, you know what I mean? And I say that to no offense to either ticker. I hope you get the point, right? But before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So let's talk about the news really quickly, all right? So there was a very, very big government contract that was signed, I believe, on this 25th candle right here. I think on this big 77% pop right there. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. There is no better contract you can get than a government contract, let alone a government military contract. There is no deeper pocket. There is no budget that is greater and growing than the military, right? And I believe it was a U.S. Navy contract, if I'm not mistaken. There was a viewer request that validated something. I wasn't 100%, but This was not their first government contract. They've actually done it before. And one thing I said on that last video is, look, when you can get your foot in the door, again, all I'm thinking about is this blank check that the military can write. You know what I mean? One single plane costs billions of dollars, right? So there is no better place to be. And I know a lot of really good traders, that's a big thing they focus on. They focus on things that have something to do with the Pentagon, with these deep pocket government agencies. Because really, end of the day, those purchase orders are never going away. They are going to keep buying and buying and buying. Because if they don't use their budget, worse things happen. You know what I mean? So love it, love it, love it when a sector is playing there. Okay. A big thing I said on my last video, and it's funny because I lowered this line. I'll look. I'm not gonna do it. Never mind. But look, I lowered this line. Feel free to go back on the last video and see it. But one thing I said was I don't think we're gonna go below 70 cents. I believed that this very significant government. I think it was a $5 billion deal. I remember it was a $1 billion deal, maybe multi-billion, and government. I remember those were the two big things. But I loved the real fundamental PR news, and I started the video with it. I loved where the NASDAQ and QQQ was looking. This was that same candle on the gap up. This was the first place I started to believe maybe QQQ is ready to regain the 8 and the 20. When we look at NASDAQ, exact same thing. We went from, are we going to lose the 20 to, are we actually going to regain the 8 and the 20 to, oh, I think we've just broken the 8 and we're ready to go all-time highs. You know what I mean? So it was that 25th that was the turning point, and really it was fantastic timing for KULR. That just made me believe we've regained a new significant line. And yeah, from there, I mean, the proof was in the pudding, right? Well, I'm going to go back to this, right? You know, this is not a brag. I am not here to brag about my stuff. More than anything, I want you to believe that you can do this too, right? But in the Discord, let me see if I can go back. No, I can't go back. Whatever. We were talking about this on the 25th, right? She was talking about more than one, if I'm not mistaken. And really, the big thing was, number one, look, we were still down here on the 25th, right? You can't think about this line and above if you're still below this one, right? So the main point of it was this second one. You can't think above it until your resistance breaks, right? But if you break that line, there's nowhere else for this to go but 116, right? And again, I started with it. I'm going to show it one more time. Look, I'm going all. We don't even need to look at that. That's all bad trading, and I'll say that in a second. From 2022, this is January 2022 right here. Absolutely nothing has happened in this channel. All right, we have our first real bad red. You can even say that's a little baby red, green. But I mean, just one dump, one pump, one dump, one pump, one dump, and then again, nothing for more than a year, right? It was August 2023 that we had this candle, and then absolutely nothing. When you have a channel, and a channel is nothing more than two lines, right? Maybe horizontal manual ones, maybe channels between the moving averages. There's so many, maybe channels between trend lines, right? I don't really draw them, but when you have those little diagonal lines, those are trend lines, right? Two of those is a trend. I put my hands together. You can't see my hands. This was a fast channel. This was a crazy fast channel. And really, I also mentioned here, our RSI was as high as an 80 something, came back down to a 50, just so that it can come back up to the 80 something. You know, that's what healthy cooldowns look like. There's just a lot to love here, all right? Now look, most of the time I would say, hey, 80 RSI is really high. This thing is going to need to cool down. There's a little bit of me that thinks that, and I will talk about both sides of the coin, but seriously, it looks like this thing's hungry for more. That's a beautiful MACD divergence. Again, that just means green's going up as the red is not, right? I see the same good diverge. I see green wanting to go up and red not, you know? And really, more than anything, this volume's been for real. I kind of wish that this big pop wasn't here because it kind of makes things look silly. But if you ignore this, pretty much since here, since that candle that's popping up right down there, all of these days have been well over the 50-day line, right? The 50-day line is substantial. This is probably the lowest of the candles, and this right here is almost a 2x, right? The real volume was 6.0. The average is only at 3 point something, right? So that's the lowest of the peaks, and that's almost 2x over the line, right? So volume is king. Volume is queen for my ladies out there, right? If you watched one of my last videos, I was talking about volume. Volume needed to come for this thing to do it. I mean that's what this was, right? So volume was a big part of this. Easy channel. What's next? Man, we gotta draw some lines if I'm not mistaken. We gotta draw something right there. It looks like that's our next line. Boom. That guy right there. I like that. It's basically the top of this thing right there. There's some horizontal stuff happening right there. I like this line. It actually seems like 150 might be next, okay? Maybe we're going to come up to 130. We're going to have to cool down at 130, come back down to 116, and then go back to 150. Otherwise, we're going to destroy that 130 that I just mentioned, and then yeah, I imagine 150 is where we'll need to cool down. Look, this is still an 80 RSI. 80 is still a pretty high number. I don't think we're coming back down to 92 though. I think this is the next line. It's 101. I actually don't think we're going to go below a dollar. I think 101 will hold very nicely if this thing was to come down. Otherwise, I think that this is heading up to 130, if not higher. KULR. This was a beautiful mix of very legit news, very real PR, very connected to the fundamentals. And again, I'm never here saying technicals are better than fundamentals, right? This is the way I trade, right? But this was a good mix of real PR with real good technicals, trying to break all five, trying to break that 200. Couldn't do it, kind of couldn't do it. All of a sudden, boom, right? RSI was healthy. MACD, like this is technical beauty in my opinion. All right, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh my goodness, Soundhound. I mean, there are there are some times when I think to myself, should I really hit record? Like, how educated are the things I can say? You know what I mean? This is now that same beast mode I've been talking about on SoFi, right? I don't know if you watched the Soundhound and then the SoFi after. SoFi's been on beast mode. It has, and I'm not covering it on this one, but I mean, just look at the thing, right? It had that same struggle, and then it broke all five and fly. I feel like Soundhound had the struggle a little bit more up here, and now it's starting to go. You know what I mean? And now the beast mode is coming, and look at that super healthy 64 RSI even after a 20% gain, right? 18, whatever. So there is so much good on this. It's actually a little ridiculous, all right? Good. I like showing NVIDIA. And it's interesting to me to see Nvidia. It's still over the golden line, right? It is, but I'm finding it a little interesting that Nvidia is not taking off, but it does seem like Soundhound is, right? And I said it a little bit in the beginning of the video. Look, when the Nasdaq is so good, there's a little bit of risk that is hidden in the normally risk reward stock. All right, and look, Soundhound is starting to become this powerhouse of its own, right? But I've always said that this thing is not on the Palantir level, right? I used to put it on the same AI video with Palantir, and then I had my little rankings if you've been watching my videos for a while, right? But Soundhound is, and I think still is, a little bit of a skeptic. I've been struggling with that word. Speculative, the SP. Oof, I've been struggling with that word. I got to find a different word, right? But there is a lot of still you need to prove it to me with SoundHound, right? And that's where risk reward kind of comes in, right? And again, one of my thoughts is I think the fact that the NASDAQ is doing so well, it's making these normally riskier stocks get more of the reward. And maybe that's why NVIDIA is kind of not doing, again, I'm just kind of taking a stab at it, but it's a little odd to me that those two are a little bit just disjointed right now. SoundHound on its own, though, look, I mean, I can't. Let's just take a look at the weekly really quickly, right? The weekly is still a 74 RSI, right? The weekly was as high as 90 in this year, right? So obviously March is a little bit of a ways away from the November that we're sitting at today, but I think if it's within the same year, there's a little bit of me that believes, dude, it just did this. Dudettes for the girls watching, right? Like I still think that there's a shot for this thing to go up, not just 80, but maybe more than 80. And again, that's on the weekly, right? The daily is such a healthy 64. All right. It's been interesting that this hasn't gone up very high, right? You can kind of see, let's just draw it to that. This RSI really isn't going much higher than the 80s, right? I just did a quant video, QUBT. This thing got as high as 90 right there, right? Ion Q, this thing's, I guess it wasn't that much. I don't know why I did that. I thought there were some better examples. They weren't. I'm coming back here. But it's a little interesting, and I remember I had a line here for a while. I thought I deleted it because we finally broke that 521 line. It's still a bit interesting to see that it hasn't really gone over that, but I think that's ready to change. I do. I feel like this is going to be the moment where it finally gets over that 79 RSI. It finally starts going. And I mean, just look at the volume that's backing it, as well as what's finally a taking off MACD, right? Like, it seems like this thing is now getting ready to go. I think I got to draw new. Oh, no, I have lines. These are my next lines up, 1070 and 1222, all right? Let me see if there's a interesting one in between it. Oh, no, not at all. Oh, no, not at all. Nope. Yeah, these are our lines right here. It actually feels like 1070 is next. There isn't too much left here. We're basically over that peak right there as well. Yeah, it feels like 1070 is next. There's not too many educated things I can say here. Um, yeah, that's it, really. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Even if you disagree, oh, I appreciate you all so much.